Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Twilight Imperium Junkies podcast. I'm Rand, and today I'm joined by a special guest, TI Junkie fan favorite, Speedy, Arborec Queen. Welcome, Speedy.
Thank you so much, Rand. It is a pleasure and a joy to be here. Me and my fungus.
You and your one fungus, Population 1, the hive mind.
That's correct. One singular hive.
So, Speedy, anyone who watches TI Junkies knows that you are a huge fan of the Arborec. You love them. Favorite faction, one might say. Yes, maybe?
Yes, indeed. I will admit that recently I've been really enjoying the yin, but I'm not ready to claim that just yet. The Arborec are my pride and joy. So
It's also a ground force faction, so that makes sense that the yin is interesting to you.
yes, and the whole reason I like the yin is because they remind me of the Arborec. So really, it's just an extension of my love for the fungus.
It's an homage.
Yes.
So why do you love the Arborec? Do you remember when it clicked? Was it your first time playing them? Do you remember your first time playing them?
Yeah, truthfully, I don't remember the actual game, but I do remember the first time I ever played them immediately thinking, oh, this really suits my play style. And it just clicked for me more than the other factions had at that point. And all I can really boil it down to is I'm a classic overthinker, and TI is such a complex game. Some people that play, they love adding on. Oh, in addition to all these crazy rules and things, I can modify it like this and do that. But for me, I would rather pick one thing and be really good at it. And I also would love to reduce the number of things that I'm trying to keep track of. And so for Arborec, what I'm good at is planting my roots and making sure that nobody can rip me out of the ground. It's control. I don't care what happens in space. I can fret a lot less about that. If I can control the ground, I satisfy so many objectives that way. It is a game of control, and I love that. And I also love the modification to the production ability. Most people are worried about, oh God, where am I going to put my space stock? What if my space stock blows up? I never have to think about that. I can just remove that from my brain. As long as I've got fungus, I can build. And it can be wherever I want.
It's true. Anywhere. Yeah. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. I was thinking about it earlier and I was like, it's like SAR on steroids, because it's like you don't only have 3 floating factories. It's every single system basically, unless for some reason you don't have any ground forces there.
Exactly. And the after a round is over, you get to add one guy, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that also means that people aren't really noticing you doing it. You just slowly over time are building your strength until finally someone goes to attack you and they go, wait, how are there suddenly 12 infantry here? And I go, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. And specifically with the mitosis ability, I feel like that is often overlooked because it kind of just happens when, everyone's about to score, no one's really looking at the board anymore. But it does help you hang on to critical planets and help you increase production at those critical planets. Like if there's a tech skip planet, if there's an attachment planet, if there's a legendary, anything like planets that could get you points. And an Arborec infantry goes a long way.
It really does. As long as you have your production ability, you can just make something appear wherever you want. And you can suddenly become a formidable force somewhere where people didn't even detect your presence necessarily.
Yeah, and not needing space docks kind of means that anytime you follow construction, it is likely going to be for a PDS, which makes your ground even harder to take, which is the synergy is really there.
Exactly. And that allows me to focus on getting techs related to the PDS to strengthen those instead of trying to make a decision. Oh, am I going to favor production or favor protection? It's just always going to be protection 100% of the time.
So what techs do you often favor as Arborec? What tech paths have you gone? What tech paths do you avoid? PDS is yellow and red, and their faction techs are green. So do you ever go blue? What's your deal with techs as Arborec?
Ooh, good question. Usually, despite what all the Arborec techs are, I tend to go blue because I just think regardless of faction, you have to. It's the way to win. It's just the way. And again, with Arborec simplifying the game of TI for my brain, I honestly don't find some of the Arborec text that helpful. But instead of being upset that it isn't cooler, I'm okay with just being good at what I'm good at. So I kind of, for the most part, I ignore the special text. It's shocking, but I usually don't even upgrade my infantry, which if I was gonna do an
Wow.
Arborec tech, I do think you should do that. I think it's smart because the more infantry that you get to survive and be stronger, the better. That would make a lot of sense. But I'm okay with foregoing it because the sheer numbers that you're able to put on the board, if you put 12 infantry and you're trying to lock down Mechatol, you're already fine even without it. So it can only strengthen you, but I'm kind of okay with ignoring it if I choose not to go down the green path. So yeah, I typically go blue, and I'll get a couple other techs that support my protection and my production needs. So I'm getting PDS2. I'm shooting an extra cannonball when I do my PDS. And I'm getting myself discounts on productions. So you have to get Sarween. Start with Sarween. You are a fool if you do not. We'll talk about that later, perhaps.
Yeah. Has Speedy been a fool playing the Arborec? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned to find out. Is Speedy filled with regret? You're going to know pretty soon.
So I actually recently had an in-game experience with another Arborec player where I had their promissory note, and something happened that opened my mind to the possibility of what their promissory note stymie could do. It is the promissory note where if someone activates your system, you can play the note to place one of their tokens in any system that has their ships. So you can essentially lock down their fleets if they're being offensive. So I already had the promissory note, and a player in the lead was coming after me. So I proposed to the Arborec player, hey, can I just play this to slow them down, but you give it back to me so I can use it for purposes intended? And that kind of opened the world of possibilities of this could be very, very freely used. I know
Yeah.
Stymie is such a powerful card because it's like some kind of reverse ceasefire, so holding on to it for a critical moment seems key. But if there's some kind of like agreement on the table of like foreseeing which players are gonna attack each other and like passing stymie to the players who are gonna be on the defensive, I think there could be a lot of like hosing that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel that there, and you can correct me on this because you're definitely a TI, what's the word I'm looking for? You are a
Junkie.
TI junkie, yeah. A TI junkie, a TI academic, you're very well studied in the game. But I feel like some promissory notes, you open your hand and you go,
Yeah.
it's like you could trade it, but it's not really going to do that much. But for exactly the reasons that you're saying, I think that it really can be a powerful trading tool and can really be used to hose somebody that deserves a good hosing.
Yeah.
It's definitely not something to be messed with.
Yeah.
Even honestly, the Arborec agent is so easily traded. I think that's probably my most frequently traded ability. Just to be able to upgrade a ship, not just for yourself, but you could sell it to somebody else and suddenly they have a stronger power than their opponent had expected. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. All their leaders are kind of pretty interesting and unique and cool. Like they're all production based. That's the thing. Like you said, Arborec is so one note. It's like the production. It's like the math. Bring your calculator to your Arborec game, and you should be fine.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of calculators in my hive. 500,000 little cells. Or well, I'm not a biologist. I guess it's one cell, but
One large cell. So I have a question for you. Obviously, I haven't played Arborec as many times as you.
that's a big mistake on your part, but I understand.
It is true. I agree. I need to get on that for sure. But I do feel like the times I've played them, the roadblock I have faced is like a money problem. Because I feel like the potential you can achieve in your board state with the production that you have, I never feel I can match, especially with like the hero being like produced everywhere. Well, if I'm poor, like that's sad. It's a sad moment for that hero.
It's very true. And, as much as I defend Arborec, this is a moment where I have to just agree flat out. There are a number of games where I thought, oh, I could pop my hero, but do I have enough money in the bank for this actually to make an impact? And if I pop it, it ends up being more of a stall than anything else, which is unfortunate because you want your big moment. But yeah, so it really comes down to, have you planned well enough throughout the game? Because a trap that I fall into sometimes is focusing too much on just protection of myself, but I could be doing other things to make sure I'm spending less throughout the game. There are certain techs you can do where, like, oh, spend less on production. The number of unit upgrades that you have is one. There are little ways to save throughout that you could be doing, and then it's going to add up by the end of the game. And also, if you do a good job of expanding and controlling more things, obviously that equals more money.
Right.
So if you don't focus too much on, oh, I'm only going to strengthen what I have, you do need to expand and colonize a bit more, and then you get richer.
Yeah. And that also might be where you're not teching Sarween is a huge mistake, because that 1+1+1+1 a billion times in a row, that's your hero build.
Exactly. That is your hero build. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Make sure you're taking trade throughout the game, which I honestly sometimes don't. I usually just rely on other people to be kind and wash me. But that doesn't always happen. And then
Yeah.
you get to the end of the game and you go, oh no, I have no trade goods. This hero means nothing.
And depending on which other factions are in the game, there might be some odd ways to pick up on some trade goods. I was thinking about commander synergies, and I thought the Titans commander might be the best one for Arborec, because
Yeah.
you get a trade good every time you produce. That's like Sarween buff reverse on steroid. Like that. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, not just saving money, but you just get money for wanting to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say so. Sarween plus that is you save money, you get, and that's just ridiculous.
Crazy.
There's also the Muad commander, where you get a trade good for every time you use a strategy token.
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. Ooh, that could be a really fun one.
Anything that gives Arborec money is a good time for those plants. And then there's a couple of commanders I thought of that aren't money based, but would be really interesting to see with Arborec, which is the SAR commander, because that lets you move infantry to a different space dock from where you've produced them. And so you can basically build infantry, and then they appear somewhere else unlocked, and you can move those infantry and build some more. And a similar commander is the Cabal commander, where you can produce 2 additional infantry beyond the production limit.
Yeah.
And that is just ridiculous for getting those Arborec infantries on the board.
I like that a lot.
So, Speedy, let's talk about strat cards with Arborec for a second. What do you feel is different in terms of what you follow, what you don't follow when you're playing Arborec versus other factions?
Gosh, yeah, when it comes to strat cards, I don't think it changes depending on faction that much for me, if I'm going to be honest. Everything is so situational. I never used to be a Mechatol person, but after seeing what you have done with Mechatol control, it inspired me to start pursuing that as a path. And I do like doing that as Arborec for the same reasons we've been saying. It's all about control. And if you can just lock it down, and even if people attack you, they just can't rip the control away from you, then you're going for 8. Go for 8, go for 8 until people find a way to stop you from doing that. Warfare. I love Warfare because it's all about spreading. Arborec is spread, spread, spread. And especially on my first turn as Arborec, if I can start with Warfare, I always want to. Because the sooner I can get my guys to new territory, the better.
Yeah, it kind of strikes me that Warfare primary is better maybe for Arborec than Warfare secondary, because you can't really build out of your docks, and every system you own is basically a forward dock, so why do you need to build back there?
Yeah, the secondary almost becomes obsolete because I've been building whatever I want, whenever I want, so...
Ah. The freedom.
See, don't you see? This is an Arborec propaganda campaign. Don't you see what I'm saying?
Yes, it is. There's also a couple of secrets that basically, if I'm playing any other faction, it's like roll my eyes to the back of my head. But as Arborec, it's like gimme, which are the 9 ground forces on a planet, because that's going to happen.
Absolutely. If you've unlocked your commander already and then you pull that, you're like, oh, yeah, I did that 5 turns ago. Great.
And then there's the one of having production limit of 8 in the system, which easy again, 8 infantry or 4 upgraded infantry. There you go.
Yeah, and if for some reason you don't already have that, you can get it the next turn in about 3 seconds. It's incredible. Another aspect of Arborec that really meshes with my personal play style is being underestimated. Everyone, even though I've fully established that I like Arborec and I tend to do well with them, people still go, Arborec? Why are you playing them? They're not very good. And I say, great. Don't look at me. I'm just going to slowly build and do my thing, and you're going to continue to think that I'm not a threat until suddenly I am. And then you'll go, how did Speedy get to 8 points? And I'll shrug and go, maybe if you had paid attention to what I was slowly doing every turn.
Yeah, I am surprised by the amount of players I encounter that underestimate Arborec, because again, unless they are having a poor game, their mechanics are just game breaking in a Mahacht level kind of way.
Right. Exactly. And for me personally, too, a problem I've run into in the past, even down to our very first TI Junkies episode, is if I go too hard too fast, then people pummel me and I get slayed. But Arborec is a very slow start. Like in an ideal world, you've gotten warfare and you've spread as much as you can. You used your agent to upgrade your ship so that you can move more of your infantry, and you've gotten Sarween. That's in a perfect world. But sometimes things just don't go that way.
Yeah.
And you don't even spread right away. You don't even get Sarween right away. And so then you can play
Or
the game
ever.
or never. But you can play the game of, oh, wow, I'm such a slow start. Oh, I'm so behind. And that actually will serve you long term. It's so much better than racing to the front.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes, with Arborec, weakness is strength. The things you think are bad, you can use to your advantage.
I love that. I love how much you enjoy the Arborec, Speedy. I enjoy them too. They're great.
Thank you, Rand. Even if you're saying that just to be kind, it's appreciated anyway. Thank you for saying the words. It's on recording now, so everyone can hear you say it.
This is on the record, so it must be true.
Absolutely. There is no video, so you can't tell if I'm making her say this under duress. You can't see the gun to her head, but, that's okay.
Well, Speedy, thank you so much for chatting Arborec with me. But before we wrap this up, I want to talk about the upcoming episode of TI Junkies coming up this weekend. You are in that episode and you played bum-ba-da-dum, the Arborec.
Yay! The only faction that matters.
So let's give our listeners a little tease, a little spoilers, but we're not gonna nothing big, nothing huge. What happened that game? How was your Arborec experience?
I had the objective on lock, and now I don't.
Minister of Peace.
I just have to find greener pastures, and I don't know where they are.
I'm doing political stability
Wait, hold on.
that I can keep 8 so that Matt can't take it. I'm sorry.
Wait, I didn't draw action cards first. If I draw sabotage.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't draw sabotage.
Ooh, goodness. We teased it a little bit throughout this episode, but there is one rule when you play Arborec that should never be broken. It has to do with tech, and I may have broken that rule, and I may have paid the price. I mean, no, maybe that's too much. Maybe I didn't pay the price. Should I back up? That maybe gives away a little too much.
You just popped your hero as a stall.
Yeah.
But you also did have your time of glory on Mechatol as Arborec.
That's true too. yeah, as we were saying before, it is a game of control, and Arborec is a great way to lock her down. So that's a strategy that I was trying in this particular game, and you'll see how that played out.
Yeah, tune in this weekend to see if Speedy's Arborec ball made it to the finish line on Mechatol, or if the plants got extinguished.
Did Matt use Weed Be Gone on Mechatol? You're going to find out.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me in this episode, Speedy. Loved having you. Excited to have you again sometime. Who knows what we're going to chat about next?
Yes, I'm very excited for this podcast. Thank you for asking me on. This is a very fun way to keep TI Junkies in our minds and hearts at all times.
At all times, never enough.
Never enough. Yeah, gone are the days of sitting at your laptop using your eyes. Now you can listen to TI Junkies. You could be in the car and listen to TI chatter in the shower. Crazy.
On the toilet!
Yes, especially on the toilet.
These are just a few of many places where you can continue to tune into this podcast. So thank you all for listening, and thank you once again, Speedy, for joining me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Twilight Imperium Junkies podcast.
If you like what we do and want to support the show, check out our Patreon, where amongst other things, you can vote on topics for future episodes.
Keep up with the TI Junkies series by subscribing on YouTube,
Until next time, keep stooging, or maybe don't.
unless you're my stooge.